This is Steve, and I'm here with Pam Holocher, who is the Deputy Director of Community Development here in Fort Wayne. We are at the Envision Fort Wayne Center, which is downtown. It's in the old downtown gift card store, if you remember where that was at, right across from One Summit Square. Pam, tell me a little bit about what the Envision Fort Wayne Center is.
Well, it's really a new sort of way for people to be engaged in a very street level way, or on their own terms, be engaged with some of our top projects, those two being the riverfront development study and the downtown update. We're ready to do another update, and it's a way for people to learn about what's going on. The exhibits will be changing. We have monitors that are educational, for example, the history of the river. And it's also a way for people to provide input, either through a survey or just chatting with some of the staff members. And in that way, it's a more personal way to engage people. And I think the hope is that people, through this engagement process, will want to be more involved with activities and things that go on in the downtown, may want to invest, and that there will be a certain social kind of synergy that happens.
Does someone need to have an appointment to come down and talk? Are there hours?
There's hours. We're open 3 days every week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And those, we're open 11 to 3 on Thursday and Friday, and 2 to 6 on Tuesday.
And you mentioned the updating the downtown plan, and that's updating the blueprint and the Blueprint Plus that were done years ago.
Exactly. It's been about 5 to 6 years since the Blueprint Plus was completed, and actually most of those projects have been done or completed, or there's a good reason why they're not. So this is the time. There's so much momentum now between Harrison Square and the Ash Project and the Riverfront Development Study that it's really time that we kind of regroup and where are those opportunity areas, and then to invest in those areas.
And when you talk about ideas that maybe are out there for riverfront development and things like that, where do you see things going in the next 5-10 years?
Well, I'm really hoping that we have some good, not only ideas, but we've implemented some of the ideas for the riverfront development study, which could be anything from hardscape, it could be buildings, housing, it could be entertainment venues. I'm really hoping we're actually doing a lot more on the river. And I think for the areas, the park areas or whatever or the park type of ideas, I hope that some of those have come to fruition. I really hope that our riverbanks are cleared, and where there's been some bank erosion, maybe that's been built up a little bit, so there will be great view sheds of the rivers. And hopefully we have some of the infrastructure built as far as promenades and walkways and that sort of thing. So as far as the riverfront, I'm hoping that we're kind of there. We may not be totally developed, and by developed I don't mean buildings, but just the other things that may happen there. And then I hope that Harrison Square, hopefully, or not Harrison Square, I'm sorry, Harrison Street, I see that development coming along. And I think some of the opportunity sites, hopefully some of those will be, we'll have land control, they'll be purchased, and there will be some development and investment there too.
And as far as riverfronts go, that's pretty much a blank slate at this point, isn't it?
It really is. Obviously, there's lots of, and I won't say challenges, but lots of things that you need to consider. I mean, obviously, a lot of those areas flood, and so there's certain things that you have to do if you're going to build in those areas or not build, and then we have the diking system, so we have to certainly take that into account. Can that be moved or not? So it is a blank slate, and there's a lot. The great thing I think about a riverfront development study is that it really covers a lot of area. And in the presentation that we did, or the consultants did, regarding the riverfront, they really showed the breadth of our study, just the sheer acreage of our study, and the number of just linear feet that we're looking at of our rivers compared to a lot of other riverfront development studies in larger communities. And really we have a lot to work with, which is really a good thing, because it means that we can do a little bit of everything or a lot of everything for most of everyone in our community, because this whole project is about bringing people back to the rivers and the fact that it really is a place for all of our community to enjoy.
The whole process of downtown and rebuilding and revitalizing, that didn't just happen overnight. This whole process has been going on for years, and I know you were there at the beginning of it. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen happen over the years and where you think things are at right now.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because I do think a lot of times the community thinks, okay, we have this idea and in the next year or two everything's going to be fully developed, and that really doesn't happen. I originally came to Fort Wayne 37 years ago and started working for the city 35 years ago. So when I came to the city at that point, the downtown, and I've worked downtown the entire time, at that point the downtown was really losing retail and everything. We had Ayers and the tea room and lots of businesses, and at that time I worked for redevelopment, and we were still demolishing a lot of our smaller buildings that provided a lot of character, but they made way for new development. And then after we did a lot of those sorts of things, we built the Civic Center and improved the Embassy Theater and did a lot, the Botanical Conservatory. I think we realized that we were losing a lot of the retail on that to the suburban area. And then we kind of really came to the realization, I think in early 2000 with in 2000 with the expansion of the Coliseum, that, well, where do we want to invest, and where's the heart of our city, and where's our downtown, and where's the plan for where we want to invest? And we realized at that time we didn't have a plan. And that's why we really decided to embark on the Blueprint and the Blueprint Plus that really told us our downtown is the heart of the community, and if we want it to be there, there were a number of things we had to do. And that's when we started looking at our corridors and really looking at, larger scale projects like the Harrison, and really trying to bring people and activity back to the downtown. So that really started in about early 2000, and I think we've made incredible leaps since then. The fact that by the time we decided to really go after and do the whole ball field in Harrison Square, and to when the ball field was actually built, that was like 2 or 3 years. And that, you can go around the country and see when projects like that were first conceived and completed, and that was one of the fastest projects that's ever transpired, because there's property acquisition, that's tough, then you have to bid every piece of the project till you actually do the construction, and it is a process.
And that was pretty controversial when it was introduced. And do you think that the community has bought into this whole thing of revitalizing downtown and Harrison Square?
I think because of Harrison Square, the community has started to buy into it, because, as you say, many, and I think it was over half of our community really wasn't really sure they were behind, if not being against that project, because you're spending all that money on a baseball field, basically. And when we have one that's good, that's fine. And I think with the Harrison, I think it's where a lot of our community started to think, we were good, but we really want to be great. And to be great and to be competitive, we have to take some chances. And I don't mean uninformed chances, but some educated risks is I guess what I want to say, because I think people, whether they like baseball or not, most everyone I talk to loves to go to Harrison Square, loves to go to the ball field.
And those risks, or the educated, I don't want to say guesses, but right. Some of that, it was the result of studies and things like that were done, and
oh, exactly, it was,
and those were very necessary.
Right, it was the result of looking at the market. I mean, looking at other successes nationally and internationally, but what would work here in Fort Wayne, because you really have to look at the context, you have to look at the character of the community, of the people, all the various populations, and what would work here, not only just for Fort Wayne and Allen County, but the region. Obviously, we are the center of Northeast Indiana, so if we thrive and our downtown thrives, then the thought is that the entire region will thrive.
Okay. So once again, we are at Envision Fort Wayne Center, which is downtown, and I'm going to have you run through the hours once again.
Oh, sure. And I'll start, it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday from 2 to 6 p.m. to catch kind of the dinner crowd, and then Thursday and Friday from 11 to 3 to kind of catch the luncheon crowd. And we will let everyone know because, for example, during Three Rivers Festival and other times, we're just going to open up. And if you have a class or you want to do training or whatever, we certainly can be available. We can have docents here, we can do exercises, so we're pretty open to whatever anyone would want to do.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Pam?
Yes. The other thing is, as you know, we've hired SWA consultants out of Houston, or I think most everybody knows, or at least a few people know, and they will be presenting us with a lot of their conceptual ideas and then their final ideas. And we have a wall in this center, right over there, that as these ideas start to brewing and various concepts, because there won't just be one idea, there will be several ideas and then lots of very specific ideas. We will be showing those to the community and hopefully getting comments back that, yes, I like this idea, but this one won't work, or this is just a crazy idea. And there will also be costs associated with a lot of those ideas. So if you've been here once, you certainly can come many times to see as we progress and try to figure out what we're going to do.
And I just had the thought, I hate to backtrack a little bit after kind of making that finale segue, but talk to me a little bit, just a little bit about the Legacy Fort Wayne and the impact that that's had on downtown and our ability to maybe do some of these things.
Oh, sure. Well, most communities in the Midwest, and we study all sorts of different cities and how they function, and as you know, with things like the tax cap and that, if you know, a lot of communities have had to lay off police officers and firefighters, and Fort Wayne has been fortunately because we've been relatively healthy. And that being said, we've had the funds to do things like maintain our streets. In fact, hopefully we'll do a lot better now that the bond was passed, and we haven't had to lay off, safety personnel and that thing, those sorts of things. But basically our tax dollars and our seeded dollars go to running government, the basic services. And so with the legacy funds, which I think in 10 years, 5 to 10 years, we should have $100 million in that pot. Those dollars can be invested and leverage other dollars to bring really special things to the downtown and the community. And most other communities, at least that I've talked to in the Midwest, are really envious because they're just trying to survive and keep their head above water. And we can invest in beautification, we can invest in our downtown, we can invest in our neighborhoods. I know some of the neighborhoods have said, well, we want more of the legacy dollars. But as we work on our gateways to the city and our urban corridor, commercial corridors, that there will be legacy dollars spent all around the community.
And to clarify, to make sure I didn't mislead anyone, the funds for this Envision Fort Wayne Center didn't come from the legacy. That's a separate grant that you guys were able to get.
Right. We actually got a grant from our local Knight Foundation, at least a local branch of the Knight Foundation. And actually, they provided money for other centers like this, at least one other in Wichita. I think it was called the Innovation Center. And actually, they provided a pretty hefty grant for that. And again, the reason that they're so interested in funding this is because they really believe that community engagement is a very important piece of having a very kind of vibrant and sustainable community.
Okay, Pam, we appreciate your time. Was there anything else that we wanted to add? It's a lot.
I think you've got it, Mo. You've got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Pam. Have a good day.